Hopefully this will be the last time I'll have to see the inside of Suffolk Superior Court again.
With his criminal case behind him, former State Treasurer Tim Cahill joins me in his first broadcast interview. He looks back on the corruption charges that could have sent him to prison and to life ahead outside of politics. That's now on Greater Boston. Good evening. Almost a year after it began, the criminal case against former state treasurer and one-time gubernatorial candidate Tim Cahill is over. Last Friday, he reached a civil settlement in the case. Attorney General Martha Coakley charged that then gubernatorial candidate Tim Cahill used these lottery ads to promote himself.
Massachusetts is home to the most successful state lottery in America.
At his criminal trial last fall, Cahill denied that.
The decision to run those ads was the right thing to do for the lottery.
Prosecutors argued text messages between Cahill and his staffers suggested otherwise. But jurors couldn't reach a verdict, resulting in a mistrial last December. Friday's settlement effectively ends the case.
I think that having Treasurer Cahill acknowledge that this was a violation of the law served a large percentage of the purpose in bringing any charges.
As part of the agreement, Cahill will pay a $100,000 fine and serve 18 months of probation. And with me now is former State Treasurer Tim Cahill. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a long time.
Yeah. How was your weekend? Was it relaxing for a change?
It was. It was. It's still kind of hard sorting things out, but it was the first time in really over 2 years I've been able to sort of just take a deep breath and not worry about what might be going on and what might be happening and what will happen and stuff. So it's nice to have it behind me. Very nice.
What was it like facing the prospect of prison? I mean, you've seen people say, Macy is currently in prison. We've got a couple other local legislators in prison. What was it like even contemplating that?
I never really contemplated it, but obviously it was in the back of my head, and the trial and everything that went along with it. And obviously if it didn't go well, I had to face up to that. But I tried not to think of the worst case scenario and what would happen. I was very positive. Confident to a point. I mean, you know, I felt really good about the case, so I really never crossed that bridge. But just going through the process, the indictment, the trial, all the waiting, I think that was the worst part. The trial, at least, we were able to sort of start to fight back, but up till that point, I really hadn't been able to say anything for almost 2 years about what was going on and sort of my side of the case. So that was I would say it weighed on me, it weighed on my family. It was very, very difficult. But we, you know.
Yeah, your wife and daughters must have contemplated what would happen if you went to prison.
Yeah, Tina did, obviously. Yes. I like to say that Tina's a glass half full girl. I'm a glass half empty. I'm a glass half full, and we make a full glass together. But yeah, she was very nervous. She was very, very nervous, and obviously preparing for what could happen if it didn't go well. But it went well, so I'm okay with that. And now it's past me and everything. So it's like any kind of pain. Once you've overcome it, once you've gone through it, it kind of fades over time. I can't say it's totally faded yet because it hasn't been that long, but it certainly would have ruined my life, both for the period of time I would have had to serve or just a conviction alone would have ruined my life. So that's what worried me the most, is getting my life back and not having to have that stigma attached to my name, which is why I fought the case.
This was a civil settlement, so there's no criminal wrongdoing, but you had to acknowledge some wrongdoing, and in the settlement, the brief says that you knew or should have known that this was a conflict, using lottery money to essentially promote your image. Do you acknowledge that that was?
Yeah, I mean, the reality was that there was always a perception, and that's what the settlement says. There was a perception of impropriety. There was a perception that I should have or shouldn't have known. I actually testified to that on court, that there was a perception, and I was warned about it, and I was told about it. I think the question, but the real issue was it criminal? Was it fraudulent intent? Was I trying to trick people? If I was, I obviously didn't do a very good job of it because it was so public. I mean, we were running public ads. It was during the campaign and stuff. So, but I mean, I'm not a perfect person, and I understood that and understand that how people can perceive it, especially with the text messages, especially with the emails, which I wasn't aware of at the time that were being circulated. But once I knew what was out there and stuff, I understood and take responsibility for that. But I didn't believe it was ever criminal, or should have ever been criminal.
If it had been red flagged to you, if someone had said to you, hey, we should check this out, why didn't you go to the Ethics Commission? Why didn't you go to somebody and say, hey, is this okay what we're doing here? Well,
that's one of the things we probably should have done, is checked it. But we're in the middle of a campaign, and the lottery's under attack, and sometimes you make decisions, and I think if I had to criticize myself, it would be because I was too stubborn to just sort of sit back and sort of think about it and maybe hold off on it. But I was angry with what the Republican Governors Association had done, not just to me, but to the lottery and to my agency and the impact it was having. Sales were down. I acted in a way that I thought was responsible, but I can see how others could see it differently. So in order to move on, I was fine with that. And again, I testified to the fact that there was a perception of impropriety. There was a perception that I was trying to use the lottery ads to promote myself, even though I don't believe that I was. I wasn't in those ads, and I felt that they were separate from what I was trying to do in the campaign for governor. So at the end of the day, I want to move on, and I wanted to, I want to save not just myself, but taxpayers and all the people that were kind of dragged into this case, some personal relief. So it was the best solution at the end of the day, but it certainly doesn't come close to the charges and to what I was, what I was accused of doing and charged with doing.
What took the settlement so long to hammer out? The trial ended December 12th. Was Martha Coakley going after your pension? Was she going after your securities license? As it is, you're paying $100,000 and 18 months probation. Were they looking for more?
Yeah, much more. And I have great lawyers, as you know, Jeff Denner, Brad Bailey, who did a great job in defending me and presenting my case. And letting me present my case, but didn't stop after the trial ended and kept going forward. And I think there was an acknowledgement on both sides that retrying the case, although possible and probable, was not in anyone's best interest. I don't think it was in the state's best interest nor in mine. So it just took a long time for them to come down in terms of what the agreement would look like. It took me a long time to be able to be comfortable with paying a fine.
I was going to say,
it's a huge
paying a fine and admission of guilt.
Yeah, well, no, it's not an admission of guilt. It's an admission that there was a perception of impropriety. It's a civil finding as opposed to a criminal finding. I would never have agreed, and that's one of the reasons it took so long, to agree to any of the criminal findings at all. And I wasn't going to admit guilt on a criminal case, and I don't admit guilt. I mean, I was not convicted. So. Cooler heads prevailed. It took a while. I would have loved to have gone quicker, but we had to hold our ground, and I think that was important. I mean, my future for my family, for myself personally and professionally was the most important thing. It's cost a tremendous amount of money. It's cost me 2 years of my life. I want to be able to rebuild that. So I wanted to make sure that whatever agreement that I was willing to agree to was something that was not going to have an impact on my future. And, I mean,
specifically your securities license.
Yeah, and just my ability, at the end of the day, we fought this case hard. There was a lot of publicity around the charges, around the indictment. There was obviously a lot of publicity around, the trial itself. I wanted people to know that I didn't feel like I broke any laws and I didn't do anything wrong beyond, the perception of impropriety. So, like anything, both sides have to give. The state gave on some of the things they were looking for. We gave on some stuff that I felt strongly about. And at the end of the day, this was a better outcome. Because another trial would have cost me 5 times that amount. And it would have cost me another year of my life. And it wasn't fair to my family. And it wasn't fair to all the witnesses whose lives have been on hold, who've been dragged into this, the other folks that have been dragged into this. To me, I didn't want to look at it just selfishly anymore and just say it's all about me and we'll fight him again, even though there was a part of me and part of Tina that were ready to go again if that was the case. But, it wasn't a good business decision to keep going, and it wasn't good for the family. So this was okay. I was okay with this outcome.